And that one's complaining there, I don't know why. There it is. And we will remove this heavy-duty nut. And we will take a little pin punch and we'll knock out the axle shaft for the sector roller. There it is. And we will lift the sector roller up out of there. That cleans up the end of the sector shaft where the splines are and the threads, gets it all ready for the polishing. We're going to now polish the two running surfaces where the needle bearings roll. So I use crocus cloth. This is called Crystal Bay crocus cloth, made by 3M. Not everybody has this. You're going to have to go to a good auto supply to find it. But this cloth is designed to polish the surface, the bearing surface, without removing any metal or leaving any marks from the abrasive. So I tear it into some strips and polish it like you would a shoe shine procedure, like so, to prepare the surface where we're going to run the new needle bearings. So we don't want any staining or glazing or varnish or anything like that left on here from before. And crocus cloth is the perfect way to polish this and prepare it without damaging it or leaving any abrasive marks in it like you would get if you used emery cloth or sandpaper, that kind of thing. Have a look at the beautiful surface that results from the crocus cloth. Now this surface is worn a little bit from use, but nothing that you can feel. It appears to be dead smooth, and there are no pits in it, nothing that you can catch your fingernail in or anything. I'm confident that this will make a good running surface for the new needle bearings. I'm going to now do the opposite end. Okay, now we have polished the two running surfaces for the needle bearings. We have wire brushed the spline and the threads for the Pitman arm nut and lock washer. And we're ready to build this shaft with the new sector roller. I wanted to mention that crocus cloth only lasts for a few seconds, and it's shot. It picks up a little bit of material and it's over with right away. So you end up using 4 or 5 pieces like this, strips that you tear from it, in order to just do one sector shaft. But that's the way it is. That's how you get a really good, beautiful finish on it. Okay, so now we're prepared to place the new sector roller in the sector shaft. And before we do it, we're going to clean the inside faces of the 2 ears here that stand up where the sector roller will drop down in. I use a Dremel tool with a sanding drum and a little piece of sandpaper on the bottom. I don't want to take off a lot of metal. I just want to clean up the irregularities that are in there from use and from before, so that we can drop our new roller down in there and it'll work better. Okay, now I've polished the inside surfaces of this thing a little bit. Actually, I'm going to go a little bit more on this side. I can see now that I hold it in my hand that there's a little place I missed right here. And now I want to make sure I blow all the dust off of that thing so we don't get any abrasive material in there. And we come back, chuck it up in the soft jaws. You would never put this shaft in regular vise, but these are soft jaws so that they will not damage the surface of the thing. Now notice how nicely that sector roller slides down in there between the ears. And we have a new axle shaft and nut that we're going to use. And I'm going to Loctite this because this is not a lock nut. It looks like a lock nut, but I'm not always confident that this will stay forever, so I always like to Loctite this. And before Loctiting anything, you want to make sure that all residue is gone. Any kind of petroleum residue is gone. Now they manufacture these things, they put a little bit of some kind of rust inhibitor on them, and I can see that it looks like the threads are oily. I'm going to wash this with brake cleaner, because brake cleaner is designed to clean brakes and leave no residue at all, so it makes a very good cleaner when you want to make sure that there's no residue left from the cleaner as well as the oil that you're trying to remove. Okay, this is brake cleaner. Spraying it on the end of the axle shaft for the sector roller and cleaning it up best I can. And then I want to blow it off with an air hose so that it's dry, because we want to knock off any residue. And that's dead clean and dry, so that the Loctite will work on it. Okay, so we put the axle shaft into the tapping it in with a plastic hammer to make sure that you don't do any damage. It's clean. There's no residue on it. It's nice and clean. I use a little bit of Loctite red, which can be removed if you need to with a little heat and some tools, but it will not come off in service. And I've never had one come off, and I don't want to be there when it does, so we're going to clean this off. As we did there, we're going to install a little Loctite on it and put it together. So I have put the Loctite in there, and now I'm going to tighten this nut. And there's the roller, still spinning nicely. I have Loctite on the threads of the axle nut here. And now I'm going to take a ball peen hammer, and I'm going to peen over the end of this, similar to what they did in the factory. In the factory they did the same thing. Sometimes they peened over the end, and sometimes they took a cold chisel and made a line across it and hit it with a cold chisel, which essentially staked the two of them together. I just use a ball peen hammer like this, and if you'll come on over here, I'll show you. I put it on a very firm vice type pedestal that's very strong, and I peen the end of it over. And that way the nut is firmly affixed and cannot let go, and all we want really in there is a good axle shaft. That's a ground precision shaft, hardened. It's very good quality. That'll turn on there, it'll never get loose, and it'll work beautifully. So this is almost done now. We have one more thing to do. We have to prepare the adjustment bolt in the T-slot up here with the new 70 thousandths shim that comes with it. Okay, so we have now placed our 70 thousandths shim washer, which comes in the kit, on the old adjustment bolt. And we're going to try to slide it into the T-slot here on the end of the sector shaft. As you can see, it's resisting. It won't go in. Tap it lightly with a plastic hammer. It doesn't seem to want to go. So I take it back out, and I'm going to sandpaper the top of the button here a little bit and try again. So this is a little sanding belt. You can do it by hand with sandpaper, or I have this little sanding belt. It's soft right here and allows the button bolt to move into position and get a sanding job. I'll just take off a few thousandths like that, not very much. And that will go now. I'm going to take a punch, the same one I used before, and I'm going to take and put it on the end of the adjustment bolt and tap it lightly. And now it has reached the center where the wear, the little bit of wear is from prior use. And if you'll notice, it turns freely. I'm now going to put a little 90 weight grease on it, which is the lubricant that I'm going to recommend you put into the steering gearbox when you're finished. This is a lubricant that General Motors recommended all along. Put a little touch of the 90 weight grease, which I have in this little oil can, right in there, so it'll lubricate the washer and the adjustment bolt. I also put some 90 weight grease in the 22 ball bearings, 11 on each side of the sector roller. Roll it around a little bit just to make sure that they're preloaded with a little oil before we put the whole thing together and put it in the car. Now you'll notice we have a nice close fit on this with the new shim washer. It can't move very much. General Motors calls for an end play maximum of 2/1000ths of an inch, which is very close, and I'm sure we have that and under right now in this new adjustment with the 70 thousandths shim washer that has been provided in the kit. Now it's turning nice and free. Everything is beautiful. This thing should work like a dream.